Education systems in the world are changing rapidly, and such changes are through stuff like assessment systems. In Malaysia, exams, for example, PT3 and UPSR have been abolished by the Ministry of Education for students to feel less stressed and for them to focus on the ministry newest holistic assessment system policy. However, these changes to a long existing system will for sure impact students academically because of many reasons, which I will today be discussing them. One way these changes impact students academically is through observable outcomes, which continue to play a key role in their learning experience and shape their performance and advancement in school. The factor contributing to these challenges is students' unfamiliarity with the new system, especially since it no longer includes the common examinations they had long relied on. Without this familiar structure, many students feel uncertain about what is expected of them and how their work will be assessed. As a result, they may approach their studies more cautiously and with less confidence, which can disrupt their learning process. This uncertainty over assessment criteria also makes it harder for them to prepare effectively and perform consistently in academic tasks, ultimately affecting their overall progress. Another contributing factor is the absence of standardized approaches for evaluating students' academic abilities. In many countries, formal assessments such as GCSEs and the CSAT are still widely used to gauge students' progress, measure school performance, and determine eligibility for college admissions. These examinations provide clear benchmarks that help students understand their strengths and areas for improvement. Without standardized tests that focus on specific academic competencies, students may struggle to evaluate their own capabilities accurately, making it harder for them to set goals and track their development. Over time, this lack of clear measurement can create additional obstacles in their educational journey, particularly when they need to demonstrate their readiness for higher levels of study. Lastly, the academic impact of changes in school examinations can be observed in the way students adapt to new forms of assessment during the transition period. In Finland, for example, students are exposed to alternative evaluation methods from an early stage of their education, allowing them to become familiar with coursework-based assignments, project work, and continuous evaluation over time. This gradual introduction helps students develop the necessary skills and confidence to perform consistently without relying heavily on high-stakes examinations. As a result, the academic performance remains relatively stable because the assessment system evolves alongside the learning experience. In contrast, Malaysia's recent removal of major examinations such as UPSR and PT3 requires students to adjust more abruptly from a long-standing exam-oriented system. For many years, students structured their study habits, revision strategies, and academic goals around these standardized tests. The sudden shift to alternative assessments may leave some students uncertain about expectations, grading methods, and how to measure their own progress. This disruption can affect their motivation and consistency, particularly during the early stages of implementation, and may lead to a temporary decline in academic performance as they adapt to new learning and evaluation approaches. Furthermore, the long-term academic implications of removing major examinations extend beyond immediate classroom performance, as students may face increasing difficulty when they are required to transition into more competitive academic environments such as upper secondary education and university admissions. In systems where selection is still based on measurable academic indicators, students who are not accustomed to formal testing conditions may struggle with exam techniques, time management under pressure, and the ability to synthesize large amounts of information within a limited time frame. This places them at a potential disadvantage compared to students from the education systems that continue to emphasize structure, standardized assessments. In addition, the absence of clear national benchmarks can make it more challenging for higher education institutions to evaluate applicants consistently, which may lead to greater reliance on internal school assessments that vary in difficulty and grading standards. Consequently, while the intention of removing high-stakes examinations is to promote a more holistic learning environment, insufficient alignment between school-based assessments and future academic requirements may create gaps in students' preparedness, ultimately affecting their confidence, competitiveness, and ability to adapt successfully to the demands of higher education. As a conclusion, while these reforms are aimed to encourage holistic learning and reduce student stress, we also must encourage its effect on the students themselves through the impacts I have said. Unfamiliarity, lack of clear benchmarks, and sudden transitions all can affect students academically. Therefore, these changes should be implemented gradually, not suddenly. That's all from me. Thank you.